that wraps up part one of R.A.F.O.N Report podcast series. Actually, the second one. But this is going to be a three-part series. You just listened to part one, and now I'm going to set you over to listen to part two or part B, whichever you prefer. Again, in 1871, a seditious act was performed by the government. A coup was made to rewrite the Constitution and put "We the People" in all capital letters under a new corporate contract, transferring the United States of America into a new corporation, and the United States of America, which transferred the power of "We the People" and the Constitution over to the new corporation. When they did that, it placed the citizens in the United States as property of the corporation, which was centered in Washington, D.C. This action made Washington, D.C. a foreign entity on American soil of sovereign states. I've heard rumors that this corporation is owned in part by the Vatican, in part by Jerusalem, in part by London. Ta-da! This is the way the conspiracy theories go. Again, people hear bits and pieces of information. They may even hear a name associated with a certain conspiracy theory, but as they're going through and digging out information, they wind up adding stuff to it that's not really part of it. So one lie becomes a giant lie, and when you really break it open, it's a multitude of lies. Again, that's everything going underneath the umbrella. Another website. The United States in capitals isn't a country, it's a corporation. The United States, all in capitals. Corporation is generally referred to as the federal government, and please note, in contract law, it is always significant that all capitals are used whenever referring to a corporate name, a legal, clear distinction from a live individual. Whew. I've been told that I can talk too fast. I really hope I'm not talking too fast for you. A little bit, let's examine this District of Columbia Organic Act of 1871. A website that I'm reading it from says, the District of Columbia Organic Act of 1871 is an act of Congress that repealed the individual charters of the cities of Washington and Georgetown and established a new territorial government for the whole District of Columbia. Though Congress repealed the territorial government in 1874, okay, so it was only 3 years later and they already repealed the territorial government. See, there's your problem right there. Or, well, the beginning of it. And the legislation was the first to create a single municipal government for the federal district. You see, when people run across these things, they don't really do a lot of follow-up information. And there's a reason why it says, though Congress repealed the territorial government in 1874, and that's because you have to go find out, and what did they put in place? What did they exchange it with? What was renewed? What was done away with? Well, here you go. Here's another part of it. The passage of the Residents Acts in 1790 created a new federal district that would become the capital of the United States, formed from land donated by the states of Maryland and Virginia. The capital territory already included two large settlements at its creation, which is the port of Georgetown, Maryland, and the town of Alexandria, Virginia. A new capital city, named in the honor of President George Washington, was founded to the east of Georgetown in 1791. Shortly after establishing operations in the new capital, Congress passed the Organic Act of 1801, which organized the federal territory, the territory within the federal district. You get the idea that we can't just point to something that was passed in an act of 1871 and teach as if that's still law. It's not. It's been replaced. And then it was replaced. This is the way the government works. It amends and it amends, it amends, it amends. Clarifying, consolidating, whatever you want to call it. But I used to live just outside of Washington, D.C. in, it was Landover and Lanham Hills, Maryland. I've been a historian most of my 57 years on this planet. And one thing that I want to point out about the city of Washington, D.C., is that there is technically two entities here. There is a city government of Washington, headquartered in Washington, D.C. Okay? You have Mayor Bowser right there. So it's not, Washington, D.C. is not a state. Okay? It's the city is, I guess, some kind of territory of the United States, whatever. But the federal government itself is a government. And government owns property. So you have to follow the line of the development and how it happened throughout time. District of Columbia, Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is only a part of D.C., if you're following what I'm saying here. Washington is only a part of D.C. The whole federal area, which is now federal district, used to be called the District of Columbia. It was the whole thing. And then by the time they gave the piece of land back in Virginia and reorganized everything again, so now you have the District of Columbia, and then you have Washington within District of Columbia. And again, the city part is what the mayor runs. That's separate from Congress. However, Congress has oversight. I don't know how deep all of that goes. So the mystique behind the United States government being a corporation shouldn't surprise people. It's a government. I don't know how many times you have to say something like that, but here's it explained a little differently on another website. Washington, D.C., formerly known as the District of Columbia, also known as D.C. or Washington, is the capital city of the United States of America. It's located on the Potomac River, bordering Maryland, Virginia, with Congress holding its first session there in 1800. City named for George Washington, first president of the United States and a founding father. And the federal district is named after Columbia, a female personification of the nation. Even before 1776 and the founding of America and the Revolutionary War, there were already people in America referring to America as Columbia. African-American poet Phyllis Wheaton, she wrote about it, talking about Columbia. I think that was right there at the timing of the Revolutionary War, if I'm correct. But again, follow the information, dig a little bit deeper than the conspiracy theories you hear, and you're going to find out that, again, there's a difference between the city, Washington, in D.C., and D.C. itself. D.C. is the District of Columbia. It is the entire federal district. Washington, D.C. is in part of that, but it also has its own separate entity. The federal government of the United States, U.S. federal government. Federal government here is not all capitalized. We're not referring to this corporation. The corporation is what owns and controls and runs the country. Hello? The federal government of the United States is the national government of the United States, a federal republic in North America, listen to this, composed of 50 states, a federal district, 5 major governing territories, which are American Samoa, Guam, the Northern Mariana Islands, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands, and several island possessions. There's various islands and island chains around the United States that are property of it. The federal government is composed of the 3 branches, legislative, executive, and judicial. But there you go. The definition of the United States federal government is the 50 states, federal district, the 5 territories, etc., etc. Okay? The corporation runs that. I hope you're following along. The corporation runs that. Now, speeding through this again, one of the things involved in all of this, you may have heard this referred to as the Great Reset. A lot of people are using that phrase, the Great Reset. But one of the things that comes in here is something called Project Bluebeam. Watch it. There's more than one Project Bluebeam in existence, so don't get confused. But I'm just going to run through some information here on a website. Bluebeam conspiracy is a conspiracy of a big government, one world order. You know, people say New World Order. I don't like it called New World Order. There is no New World Order coming. It's already here. Now, we see a mask of it on the United Nations. They set international law. I'm sorry, that's a one world government. But again, the United Nations is only a mask. The powers behind it are the biggest problem that we face. That's the elite, the true elite. But again, Bluebeam conspiracy is a conspiracy of big government using big tech to orchestrate a fear-based scenario that would unite masses of people to side with a desired faction, one world government. The agenda of Bluebeam project is to reach the global scale of unifying all governments into a one world government that would make promises to save the adherents from a false flag doom scenario. And they have a bunch of them here. Sponsor coordinated global terrorist attacks, blame unwanted scapegoats, and justify eradication. Infect the world population with a rapid viral agent and offer a vaccine only to those compliant or submissive. My goodness. Oh, we got COVID. And now there's a magical vaccine. Some people want to see it mandatory. So, oh boy, let's glue it into this conspiracy theory. Oh boy, we're seeing it fulfilled before our very eyes. Nonsense. Could they mess with it and mess with your heads with it? Sure, of course they could. Activate a weather modification device. I think it was called HARP years ago. To implement weather warfare. An example they're giving here is melt Antarctica. Ooch. Elect an official who has the know-how to end global warming. Oh boy. This is all building to something. I hope you're ready. Execute Protocol 5. I haven't looked that up. Shuts the internet down, crashes cryptocurrency, bends financial institutions into submission through cyber warfare protocols. Activate a powerful influencing machine to introduce trauma until desired submission. We're getting to that. What is this influencing machine? Well, it's satellites, somewhere up above the globe. Fake an alien invasion. Hypothesis could include holographic imagery or induce a widespread mind control agent. Implant a one world bank credit card chip into the citizens' hands. Those that don't comply starve in the hand. Oh my God, sounds like the mark of the beast. And then finally here we have advanced artificial intelligence as close to the point of singularity as possible. Now this kind of gives you an idea of when this maybe was written, because it says grant Saudi citizenship to the artificial intelligence that can strategize the most advanced war game scenario. This will strike fear into global submission. See Sophia. That's the name of the artificial intelligence robot, for lack of a better word, that was granted citizenship in Saudi Arabia. Now that happened, I believe, in 2017, so this obviously was written before that. But another area where we find this Bluebeam registered by a gentleman by the name of Serge, it could be Sergey, I'm not really sure, Serge Monast. He lived from 1945 to 1996. He was a Quebec investigative journalist, poet, essayist, and conspiracy investigator. And I believe it was, I'm looking right here, it says 1994, he published Project Bluebeam, NASA, in which he detailed his claim that NASA, with the help of the United Nations, was attempting to implement a New Age religion with the Antichrist at its head and start a new world order via technology simulating the second coming of Christ. They're supposed to be able to project an image of Jesus somewhere in the skies. But from what I hear, they're also going to do Buddha, Krishna, Muhammad. They're supposed to be doing this all over the world, trying to fool people into things. Again, you have to remember this conspiracy theory is made up of a whole bunch of conspiracy theories. Again, some things have an element of truth, but they're usually packed with a whole bunch of BS. And I think that's kind of what we're looking at here. And through future podcasts, you will understand more of why I really don't put a whole lot of faith in that. aspect of it